So I had these realizations about creativity, and I'm curious what you think about them too. You see, often people say that there is nothing new to be created, right? That in some sense, uh, everything we create, it's already a blend of other influences we have, right? There is also this book called Still Like an Artist. And it's true. It's true. I think one of the biggest blocks in creativity is the belief we often have that we need to create something that looks completely different from everything else that it is out there. And I've met this block myself as I'm in a process of trying to create things I want to put out in the world, to share with you all. Okay. So, and that's very difficult. That feels impossible to create something that's not connected with anything else in the world, right? To be its own thing. That's, I don't know. Maybe it happens 1 in a million years, but practically, that's not how the world works. That's not how the human brain works from a neuroscience level. We always blend things together, right? And yet, there are things out there that resonate with us as really creative, original work, right? So how does this happen? So if everything is a blend of things, if everything is a blend of influences, what separates, just sticking two pencils together, gluing them together from Guernica, right? What separates doing a simple scientific publication that's just a little extra something from, some really groundbreaking theory that changes our understanding. And of course, one thing that separates them is the impact that has on us, right? But all of these things come from already present influences. So how does this thing that seems original is being made? That's the question, right? And I think this question is even more relevant in our age, the age of artificial intelligence, because that's what artificial intelligence does. Artificial intelligence blends things that are already there. And that's what our brains do. So where's the difference? Okay, what happens when we're in these magical, intuitive moments where things flow and creativity happen and something comes out? How we can guide these moments better by peeking behind the curtain of the creative process. That's what this is about. So I think in the essence, the creativity, when we express creativity, not exercise, when we express creativity, we start with an intention, right? We start with an intention to connect to different fields, to different domains, to different concepts, to different emotions. So there's a place we start and the place we want to go. And fundamentally, the concepts, the ideas, the structures of the world are more or less the same. Like if we look at a really fundamental level, because reality is encoded through metaphors, the structure of metaphors is more or less similar all around us, whether we look in the theories of nature, whether we look, in art. But then we dress these things in concepts, right? And we try to go from one concept to another concept. And that's where intuition comes from, and that's where inspiration comes from our desire to go from one to the other. And the things, the things that we create, the things that we make in the process of this effort, of going from one concept to another, that's the result of creativity. That's the creative item, product, the result of the creative process, right? So for some people, this is a painting. For Newton, this was, inventing calculus. So Newton, let's say Newton, right, who developed like gravity and laws of motion, Newton also developed calculus. So calculus is a new tool in mathematics. Calculus didn't exist before. So it's a new thing, but it does come from previous influences and from bridging different previous influences in a new way. So Newton wanted to bridge the explanation of, he developed calculus in the process of deriving mathematically the laws of motion of the planets, right? And using a different language back then, he used geometry to develop then and find a method that calculates the motion of planets through the laws of gravity he devised. And in trying to connect one with the other, trying to connect how the law of gravity can connect with something that was already there, he created calculus. And the product in this case is a tool. In other cases, it's a painting, right? When we are inspiration for a painting or a music piece, we feel something moved inside us, something, an emotion. And an emotion always wants something to go, somewhere to go. Always wants to go towards another state, towards resolution, towards coming out. And this coming out of the emotion is like, it's always an emotion comes from a place we are, connected to how we feel about it. And how we feel about the place we are has to do with, how we relate it to other things we'd rather be or rather not be. So there's always a comparison of concepts of different things. And this comparison of different things creates this emotion, creates this intention, this intuition, which then, gets expressed in the creative work. So when we're being creative, essentially, I think the question is, how big bridges we are building between concepts that in our current cultural context seem completely different, seem completely disengaged, right? And I think that's in the background of that, fundamentally. And if we realize that, we can guide our intuition better for better creativity, for better creative output, and honor and direct better the mini creative moments, like gluing two pencils together, that will guide us to the bigger things we want to honor with our creativity. So that is that. Basically, creativity is what happens, what we put out, the output of bringing two concepts together. And the more distant the concepts are, the more, we are forced to make something that looks completely otherworldly to others and to ourselves compared to everything else that's out there. Okay, so if we take, let's say, Guernica, right? It's the big contrast between the suffering of war, of the cruelty of war in human nature, and the deformity this brings. And this comes in contrast, right, to how we would like reality to be. And of course, there's also the expression of that. It expresses it very powerfully. There's always the element of expression there. But there is this contrast because of the era, because of when it was made, right? So yeah, what do you think about that? What are your thoughts about creativity, and how does it apply? What are you being creative about? I'm just curious. Let me know. And if you appreciate that, if you love that, please press a like or a follow. It helps me to do more of it. Okay. I hope to hear from you.